Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
ये फहीम है
Ya ayyuhan inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira wa da'iyan ila Allahi bi'idhnihi.
Prophet के Prophet वसल्लम कैसी जिंदगी गुजारते थे. He will tell the story.
وقال الله تعالى وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا قَالَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنا آخر الأنبياء وأنتم آخر الأمم لا نبي بعدي ولا أمة بعدكم أو كما قال صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم دائما أبدا أبدا على حبيبك خير خلقه محمد وآله وأصحابه وأهل بيته وعترته وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Respected brothers and sisters and my dearest children, Alhamdulillah, we are continuing on the Seeratul Nabi lesson number 2 today. Just to recall, in order to understand the life of our beloved Prophet Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, last week we looked into the historical foundation and background. And we discussed the life of Ibrahim alayhis salam because he is the forefather, in fact, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mentioned last week that Ibrahim alayhis salam, who in fact came as the Quran is telling us, there is a series of prophets who came. Actually, the total number mentioned in Ahadith is 124,000. But out of those, around 25 are mentioned in the Quran. And those which are mentioned in the Quran, from that, the first, obviously, we all know who was the first prophet. Anyone can tell me, inshallah? Yes. Prophet Adam alayhi salam. So, from the prophethood series starts from Adam alayhi salam. And though these are some of them who are mentioned in the Quran, then it's Idris alayhi salam, Nuh alayhi salam, Hud alayhi salam, and Saleh alayhi salam. These are all mentioned. Different nation came, and these prophets, they came and they invited the nation. And then one of the main big prophet who came was Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was, in his time, the kalima was La ilaha illallah, Ibrahim Khalilullah. Like nowadays we have La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, because we are in the period of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when Ibrahim alayhi salam came, all his nation, those who were present there, and if, for example, we were present at that time, we would be reading the kalima La ilaha illallah Ibrahim Khalilullah. So he was the Khalilullah, very close friend of Allah. And the reason why he was very close to Allah Ta'ala is because Allah Ta'ala tested him, right? A lot. he had to go through many difficult conditions during his life. And Allah Ta'ala planned it in this way because the last prophet who is going to come, it will be from one of his sons, Ismail alayhi salatu salam. So in order to become strong and patient and have all the abilities and qualities, Allah Ta'ala made him go through a lot of sacrifices. So this is something we learn from life, that if you are facing difficulties, conditions, lot of harmful situations, they are surrounding you, we should not be afraid of that. Because what happens, Allah Ta'ala sometimes brings these to make you stronger, a strong person. And this is what happened in the case of Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. You know, right from the beginning, when he opened his eyes, he was born in a family, as Quran is telling us. His father name, as one of the questions was asked last week, his name has been mentioned, Azar. His father name was Azar. And he had a shop to sell idols. You know, so Allah Ta'ala sent Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he is going to become a prophet, but in a family whose father is selling idols, whose father is selling things to go against Allah. This was the condition he first met as a child. And the father used to make the statues and idols from wood and or stones, and would then ask his children. One of them was Ibrahim alayhi salam, and they would take these stones and idols and go and sell them, right? And then in the evening they would bring back the money which they had earned from selling these idols. When Ibrahim alayhi salam was asked to do this, right from the beginning, his childhood, he didn't accept it. He said, how can idols do anything? They are made by man. But still, the father forced him that you should go and sell them. This is my order. So he used to take them, and he would then call out to the people, I'm selling these idols, but I want to tell you that they cannot do anything by themselves. In fact, they will cause more harm to you. They cannot give you any benefit. He used to announce this. And when he announced this, of course, no one would buy from him. And in the evening, he would come back, and his father used to beat him up and punish him. Why didn't you sell any idols? So this was his first test. Allah Ta'ala is building him as a prophet in the beginning, and he is being challenged and beaten by his own father for not following, not selling the idols. But then later on, he started talking to his father very kindly, because of course the lesson we learn from the Quran, that Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he started talking to his father, he would use a very kind manner, because he was his father after all, although he was doing something very bad. So Quran teaches us how we should deal with that. Even in a situation when father is doing something wrong, father or mother, we are supposed to be very gentle and kind. And he would say, Ya Abati, oh my father, oh my beloved father, you know, you are selling these idols, and are you going to get anything from this? Because only the God, Allah Ta'ala, who can do everything. These idols cannot do anything. He used to explain to them. They have no power to give benefit, and they have no power to harm someone. So why we should waste our time doing this? And his father kept listening, and then one day he became very angry, as the Quran is telling us. And he said, if you don't shut up and if you don't stop saying these things, I'm going to kill you and beat you very badly. He threatened him. So this is the initial stage of, but still Ibrahim al-Islam continued with kindness and gentleness. So this is the beginning part of his life. And then, he grew up and he was thrown in the fire. We don't have time to go in details because I'm just telling you how the foundation was laid for our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He is actually from the father Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he became old, he didn't have any children. So he then asked Allah Ta'ala in Surah Safat, as I mentioned last week, he asked Allah Ta'ala that, oh Allah, give me righteous children, obedient children. Rabbi habli minas salihin, he asked Allah Ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala accepted his dua and gave him good news. فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ halim, that we are going to give you a son, and this son will be full of qualities, great qualities. He will have patience, he will have intelligence, he will have wisdom. But obviously, in order to have these qualities, he has to also go through hard time. And last week I mentioned in detail the story of how Allah Ta'ala ordered Ibrahim alayhi salam to take his wife and this baby, Ismail alayhi salam, and leave them in a very deserted place. This place were 4,500 years ago, which was just a barren land. Nothing was there. There were just two mountains there, Safa and Marwa mountain. And in between that, he was left. And I mentioned last week that the mother kept running up from one mountain to the other. And she did that 7 times, going up, starting from Safa. Then she went to Marwa. Then she came back to Safa, so that to look at if there was anyone behind the mountains, if there was anyone who had food, but there was no sign of any humans, no sign of any food, no sign of any water. Nothing was there. And then Allah Ta'ala gave the Zamzam water. Right. So this is where we left last week. The Zamzam water was given, and the mother Hajra radiallahu anha, she quickly made a wall of sand all around the water and said, Zamzam, stop, stop. Zamzam means stop, stop. And try to hold the water so that they can use it. And alhamdulillah, the water started from there. Right? So that was the seed. That was his first sacrifice. And then alhamdulillah, because Allah Ta'ala in the Quran is mentioning water is actually a very important aspect of our life. Without water, we cannot survive. Water is life, in fact. So through the water, now they started grow, and Ismail alayhi salam started growing up in that area. Right? And he became around 11 and 12, around that. In Surah Safat, Allah Ta'ala is saying, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ. Now he had reached an age where he's very energetic and he's running around. He started running around, he's playing. And at that time, now Allah Ta'ala tested Ibrahim al-Islam again. And Allah Ta'ala gave, Ibrahim al-Islam had gone back to Iraq, and he has left them here in this is the place which will become Makkah eventually. Right? So now Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala, when he went to sleep one night, Allah Ta'ala came in the dream and asked him, "O Ibrahim, go and see your son." Now this is 11, 12 years have gone. Now the order of Allah Ta'ala, second order comes to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Go and see your son and slaughter him. This was the order. Go and take a knife and then just cut his throat. Imagine this. And this order is not direct order from Allah. It's coming in the dream. So, you know, dream is something which we normally ignore anyway. But here the order has come from Allah Ta'ala. And Allah Ta'ala is mentioning her. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعُ سَعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. So he started his journey again. He now remember, this son Allah Ta'ala has given him in his old age. And in old age, children, they become support of their parents. But when he is now about to become the support and he's running around, he's energetic, now Allah Ta'ala is testing him again and seeing, does he love me more or he loves his son more? Right? And Allah Ta'ala sent him. He came and he said, "Oh my son, قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ, I have seen in my dream, أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى, that Allah is asking me to slaughter you. What do you say about this?" Right? So he's asking his son, what do you say? Now if the children who are sitting here, imagine if your father comes to you and says, "I'm going to slaughter you," what do you say? So what are you going to say? So you said, "Dad, go away. I'm not going to listen to it." Right? So we will be very angry, right? But here Allah Ta'ala is now going to send Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the last prophet, through this son. So Allah is preparing him, making him strong, and creating patience and tolerance and wisdom inside him, right? So Ismail alayhi salam, he replied back to his father. What did he say? He asked him, قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ, I have seen in my dream, أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ, I am supposed to slaughter you. فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى, what do you say about this? So he replied back, قَالَ يَا أَبَتِ افْعَلْ مَا تُؤْمَرُ, oh my father, please carry out the order of Allah Ta'ala immediately. Ya abati fal ma tu'mar, carry out the order. The order which Allah has given you, you should immediately carry out the order. And then he said, what did he say? Qala ya abati fal ma tu'mar satajiduni insha'Allahu minas sabirin. Inshallah, you will find me. This is only a 12-year-old child, 12, 13-year-old child who's saying this. Inshallah, you will find me among those people who are the patient one, who are tolerate, who have tolerance, who are patient. And I will be able to take this. Don't worry about it. And in fact, in the riwayat is mentioned that when the father started putting the knife on the throat, the son could see that the father is afraid. So he said to the father, "Oh my father, blindfold yourself so that you cannot see me. And the love you have for me and the love I have for you should not prevent you from carrying out the order of Allah Ta'ala." So this is the forefather or great-great-grandfather of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's even at the stage of his childhood. This is how he is, how wise and how tolerant and how patient he is. Allah Ta'ala developed that. And of course, Allah Ta'ala, this is the rule of Allah Ta'ala. We should all remember that Allah Ta'ala does not take the sacrifice. He just wants to see how far my slave, we are all his slaves, how far my slave is ready to sacrifice for me. Allah Ta'ala only looks at, and then once he sees, he is very proud and very happy. And he's very obviously, he loves us 70 times more than the love our mothers have for us. So obviously Allah Ta'ala was not going to sacrifice him. Allah Ta'ala just wanted to test Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he came out 100% in his test. Right? That's why Allah Ta'ala, announced in the Quran. So this is the background. Allah Ta'ala is saying, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. We tested Ibrahim from every angle, from every aspect. We tested him. And he came out 100% in every test. Right? So he passed every test. Allah Ta'ala is saying. So he passed every test. So what happened? Then Allah Ta'ala is saying, Qala inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. So then we declared that now you will become the leader of the entire world. Allah Ta'ala is saying, Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. Allah Ta'ala made him the leader of the entire humanity until the day of judgment. How? Allah Ta'ala gave him two sons. Right? One is named Ismail alayhi salam, which we are talking about. And in Ismail alayhi salam, only one prophet came, and that is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? In his awlad, in his family, Allah Ta'ala reserved him for only Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he gave him another son whose name was Ishaq. And his son, Ishaq's son, alayhi salam, anyone knows what was the name of the son of Ishaq alayhi salam? Yes.
Yaqub.
Yaqub alayhi salam. MashaAllah. So Yaqub alayhi salam was the son of it. And from Yaqub alayhi salam, all the prophets, they came. And these are prophets starting from his son Yusuf alayhi salam. Right? And all the way, all the prophets who came after, Musa alayhi salam, Dawood alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam, Lut alayhi salam, all these different prophets, all the way up to the last one before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is Isa alayhi salam, Jesus. So all these prophets, they came from his second son, Yaqub Ishaq alayhi salam, and then Yaqub alayhi salam. And they are known as Bani Israel, because the part of the area they lived, and their family name became Bani Israel. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, two sons, one son became the means of all the prophets of Bani Israel, and the second son, Ismail alayhi salam, he became the means of only one prophet, which is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who came in Bani Ismail. So Bani Israel and Bani Ismail, these are the two series. This is how Allah Ta'ala made Ibrahim alayhi salam the leader of all the prophets. Right? So now Ismail alayhi salam, when he was slaughtering, he's putting his knife on him, and he's putting all his strength and might to slaughter him, but nothing is happening. And then all of a sudden, Ibrahim alayhi salam sees that his son is standing in the front somewhere, and instead of the son, there is a sheep or a goat. Allah Ta'ala brought a sheep from the Jannah, and he slaughtered this sheep. Right? And this became the zabiha, the sacrifice. And Allah Ta'ala liked this so much that one of our festival is named and is done because of this sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Do you remember which festival is this? Anyone knows? Yes. Say it. Naima? Naima is also here, so let's hear. Unmute yourself.
Eid
Eid-ul-Adha. MashaAllah. This is the Eid-ul-Adha, which is celebrated. And in the month of, which month we celebrate this? Anyone? Yes, Samia?
No salat.
Zil Hijjah, mashallah. Month of Zil Hijjah, which is the last month in the Islamic calendar. Right? So the first month is, anyone know what the first month is? Yes. Muharram. Muharram. And the last month is Zil Hijjah. And this sacrifice is done. So Ibrahim, Allah Ta'ala saved him. So now Ismail alayhi salam, now Ibrahim alayhi salam, after doing that, Allah Ta'ala ordered him to go back. He cannot remain with his family still. So now he came just to slaughter him, but this Allah Ta'ala did not kill him or slaughter him, but instead brought a sheep, and this was just to prepare Ismail alayhi salam to become strong, right? And to have the patience. And then Allah Ta'ala asked Ibrahim alayhi salam, go back to your son and build the house of Allah, the Kaaba. Right? Now the Kaabatullah, this Kaaba which is in Makkah where we go for the Hajj, right? Allah Ta'ala actually started this from Adam alayhi salam. The position was laid down there, but in the time of the flood of Nuh alayhi salam, everything was scattered, but Allah Ta'ala showed Ibrahim alayhi salam through Jibreel alayhi salam the exact position where the Kaaba was. And this is the Kaaba was in the same place where he was asked to leave his wife and child. So not too far from there, the Kaaba was there. And Allah Ta'ala in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, is saying to Ibrahim alayhi salam, وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَائِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَعِيلُ. That Ibrahim alayhi salam was given the order to build the Kaabatullah with his son, Ismail alayhi salam. And like nowadays, we are using the media and we can pinpoint the things from helicopters, but in those days obviously none of these things were there, but the angels were there. Allah Ta'ala used the angels to tell Ibrahim alayhi salam the four corners of the Kaaba, and then Ibrahim alayhi salam now started building this. But obviously the walls had to be built, and Ibrahim alayhi salam had to now how could they go up such length? And he was the supervisor, he was monitoring it and building it also at the same time, but he had to make sure that it is done in the proper way. So Allah Ta'ala, in order for him to go up and down, check in all direction, Allah Ta'ala brought a stone and asked Ibrahim alayhi salam that he should stand on this stone. And this stone worked like a lift or a crane for him. So whenever he wanted, this stone would take him up. So he would go and check one corner, then come back. So this stone, his foot was always on there. And that is the place which still exists in front of the Kaaba. it is called the Muqam Ibrahim. Right? The foot of Ibrahim alayhi salam is still there, in there, and that is actually a stone which Allah Ta'ala gave to with his power and qudrat to Ibrahim alayhi salam when he was building the Kaaba. And that now is a separate thing. When we go for Hajj, we can see that is a place called Muqam Ibrahim there, and his footmark is still there. Right? So that is the place which the ulama, the mufassirin have written. It is because of that. So now anyway, I think our time is up, because now